Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Samastajana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Hari Om. Salutations to all. Welcome once again to the question and answer sessions that we have been having. So as you all know, whoever has questions, raise your hands and one by one we will unmute and you can ask. Vipulji.
Hari Om Swamiji. My question is on japa. This morning, what you had talked about. So, if your Ishta Devata is the mother, can we do japa on Om? That is my first question. And second,
I didn't get your question.
Between Likhit.
1 minute. Your question came in breaks. If your Ishta Devata is what? I didn't get that part.
The mother. If your Ishta Devata is the mother, can we do japa on Om? That was one. And second, if what is better?
The second question has not come through.
Oh, what? Actually, Swamiji, I'm actually out, so maybe the Wi-Fi is very, very poor. So probably you're not able to hear. I'll come back.
Second question, if you repeat,
Yeah, so Swamiji, the second question was between Likhita Japa and Japa, which is better or are both the same?
See, the first question, if your Ishta Devata is mother, then doing japa of Om, the connection you will not find.
Okay.
You have to do some japa which will link you to the mother. That you have to find from wherever that, whatever that source is, you have to ask there, figure out if there is any mantra or anything that one can do, chant continuously in japa to connect, then you have to do that.
Sure.
Because there has to be an emotional connect with the deity or the form or the guru, whatever one is worshipping. And ideally, the purpose of japa is to integrate the body, mind, intellect, everything. So better it is that everything is in alignment.
Correct.
Something else, some other mantra, some other form will not work. Second question is which is better. So the two sadhanas are different sadhanas. Likhita japa is engaging all the senses in japa. So you use the hand, you chant the mantra, you see the thing, see the mantra. So senses are engaged in that. In the regular japa that we do, otherwise the verbal japa or mental japa, there we are learning to withdraw the senses. So Likhita japa is definitely more grosser. Subtler is the verbal japa, still subtler is the mental japa. So depending on what is one's state of mind, what one has already done, made the mind quiet, single pointed, one can choose which sadhana to go ahead with.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Swamiji.
Shubhangi.
Hari Om Swamiji. I have two questions. I will ask first question. With reference to this ignorance cycle as well as karma cycle, I wanted to raise this question, whether I have understood it correctly or not. So basically, with this non-apprehension, that is ignorance of the self, vasanas of the previous lives, they identify with some body, right? And that is false identification, which leads to incompleteness in life, because when uh, vasanas identify with the body, that can never give completeness, which we can find only with the self. And as a result, after that, this false identification leads to incompleteness, and thereby after that the karma cycle begins. This is the ignorance cycle, and then karma cycle begins. So what I have understood is vasanas, I have, in my mind, I have divided into two parts: vasanas of previous lives, which leads to false identification, and vasanas of new life, I mean vasanas getting generated, and that belongs to new life. So is my understanding correct or not?
No, that is not that is not accurate in the sense.
Yeah.
In the ignorant cycle, there is no vasana which is there. In ignorant cycle, there is ignorance of the self, which leads to false identification with the BMI, which leads to sense of incompleteness. What Gurudev used to say, non-apprehension of the truth leads to misapprehension of the truth. That false identification is generated not because of any specific vasana of the jiva. That is the result of avidya. Because I don't know who am I, then I am projecting who I am. It is like that snake and rope example. When I don't see the snake, when I don't see the rope, then I'm projecting. I can see a snake, or I can see, somebody sees a garland, somebody sees a stick, somebody sees a crack in the earth. It is their projection that is happening. In the same way, when I don't know who am I, then the mind has already become extroverted, because it has lost that connection with the self. Ignorance is there, then there is false projection, incompleteness happens. This is common for all. This process we have put down as one leads to other only for the sake of understanding. Basically, it means ignorance of the self makes me falsely identify, and that's why I feel incomplete. After that comes vasana, which leads to desire, thoughts, action, result, which further strengthens vasana. That is a karma cycle. That cycle is different for each person because the nature of those vasanas is specific to that individual. So somebody seeks happiness or completeness through satsang, somebody through movies, somebody through food, somebody through work. Each one seeks differently. That is the quality of their vasanas, quantity of their vasanas. That determines what type of desires they have, which determines based on that what type of body they will require to exhaust those desires, and accordingly the jiva is born. Those vasanas which are created by this karma cycle, they keep creating the cycles of birth and death, because all desires are not fulfilled in this life. So many desires will not happen, will not get fulfilled in this life, but they have been there, they are strong now. So to exhaust those, new bodies will be taken. Now in this process, one generally tends to forget the ignorance of the self, and one thinks maximum desires I fulfill, maximum happiness I will get. So one becomes more and more extroverted. So the false identification which is there in the earlier, in the ignorance cycle, that's a general false identification. That time body also is not taken yet. It is only to understand the concept of why the sense of incompleteness rises.
Okay.
Because the sense of incompleteness does not exist in the state of deep sleep or in the state of samadhi when I'm not identified with the BMI.
Okay.
So to make us understand that much, that why does the sense of incompleteness rise, is because we identify with something which is incomplete, then it rises. If we transcend that identification, we will not feel incomplete. How to transcend that identification? In deep sleep, ignorance is still there. I don't know the truth. But in samadhi, that is how I transcend the feeling of jiva bhav, identification with the BMI through the right contemplation, and I go beyond. Once ignorance is gone, then one experiences Purnatva. So it is to understand that part alone. We have the second step in ignorance cycle is false identification with the BMI. BMI actually is not existing at that point in time.
Okay.
Because BMI comes into picture only as a result of the, what we call, as a means to express that karma cycle.
Okay.
And when this begins, etc., so any ignorance is beginningless. So when did this begin? What was the first body? Those questions are not answerable. So when we got the first body, ignorance came first or body came first? So because we think in terms of sequence. But this is not a sequential process in that sense. We may give a certain sequence saying vasana leads to desire, leads to thought, leads to action, leads to result, leads to increase of vasana. All that is to understand a certain concept, fundamental concept of Vedanta, that until we don't remove the root cause, this whole cycle will not end. And root cause is ignorance of the self. So ignorance will go only with right knowledge. When the knowledge arises, then one realizes that this never happened. That's the final realization, that never ever did I ever become a jiva. And never ever there was even a creation.
Right.
So this entire thing is to just explain certain aspects of the confusion that we are in right now. But it is not necessarily always sequential. The karma cycle is a sequential thing, but it happens very fast. Like how the unmanifest vasana manifesting as a desire, and desire immediately, manifesting as thought is very quick. There is no like one step pehle hua, abhi dusra step hua, abhi tisra. It is not like that. It's just a model to explain that. Same way, ignorance ke baad false identification is not like a sequential step. It is a natural result that when I don't know, then there is a projection. And then there is incompleteness. Now to fulfill that, now we are trying to get new desires fulfilled, and that's how the vasana cycle starts. So that's the understanding that one has to have.
Swamiji, basically I'm an AVC student, so while attempting the evaluation about the match the pairs or write the sequence of karma and ignorance cycle, somebody in the class raised this question that after ignorance of the self, why sequence 2 should not to be taken as vasanas getting generated, because we are getting confused between these vasanas getting generated and vasanas of previous lives. So this was the question raised by someone.
Right. So what we have to understand is vasana. So what generates the vasana? Ego and ego selfish desires generate the vasanas.
Right.
Now the connection again between desire and vasana, we have to see. Vasana being unmanifest, we say they manifest as desire. So vasana in that context is the cause, desire becomes the effect.
Right.
But that quality of vasana, if it is selfish, it will manifest as selfish desire. Those selfish desires will manifest as selfish thoughts and actions and results, and that result will further add to the selfish vasanas. So vasana gets generated by this process of karta bhav. As long as karta bhav is there, vasana will be generated. Karta bhav cannot be immediately destroyed. So from selfish vasana, we come to selfless vasana. So through karma yoga, etc., we purify the quality of the vasanas, which will also help to reduce the ego. The selfishness, the ego, the self-importance, that will start reducing. To that extent, the vasana pressure will also reduce. So selfish vasanas get generated by selfish karmas. Selfish karmas will further strengthen selfish vasanas. How to come out of this? First, transform selfish karma into selfless karma. Reduce the vasana pressure. Do the single pointed upasanas. Make the mind quieter. So purify the mind and then unify the mind. With such a mind, transcend the mind using the contemplative pointers of the self. Then one is out of this whole cycle. So this previous life vasana, this life vasana, first of all, that division is again from a theoretical standpoint, because we will never ever know which vasana is of which janma.
Right.
It's just not possible. Like even right now, if some vasana is expressing, it is of this life or it is some previous life, how do we know? We will not know. Maybe I'm generating a new vasana right now. Maybe it's a past vasana which is manifesting as desire in this moment and then making me do certain things. That is impossible to know which vasana is of which janma. That's why we have to only understand this much, that when I don't know, projection is natural, that will happen.
Okay.
That is what that false identification with BMI means.
Okay. Thank you, Swamiji. And my second question, if I may ask.
Yeah.
So about this cycle of ignorance again, it has been said that we have to eliminate this. I mean, if we take into consideration cycle of progress, then we have to eliminate the vasanas. Then only we can go ahead. So for that, some technique has been given that for an individual jiva, it is not possible to start working on the causal level. So start from the action level, like gross body level, and then go to subtle and beyond that. So now my question is, if there is a question that is cycle of progress, I mean, in a cycle of progress, one should eliminate vasanas first. So theoretically, it is correct, right, that vasanas should be eliminated. But the technique has been given as uh, 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 starting from the gross body level. So which is, I mean, whatever is applicable, we should take it, or is it like, yes, first is elimination of vasanas only, just a technique or solution has been given to us, how to apply it?
See, the solution has been given in sequence. Properly, the solution is given in sequence. Nobody can work at vasana level at any point in time directly, because vasanas are unmanifest. Until they manifest, we don't even know what quality of vasana is there or how much vasana, quantity also we don't know. All we know is when desires manifest in our intellect, then we understand, oh, this type of vasanas I have, sattvic vasanas I have, rajasic, tamasic, selfless, selfish, all those we will understand. And the pressure we will understand, because even if I know something is right, I am not able to withstand the vasana pressure, I'll end up doing the wrong. That means that vasana is very powerful. So suppose I know that I should not, let us say, indulge in a particular type of sweet. It's not good for my health. Now the vasana for eating sweet is so strong that I'm not able to live that. The moment some sweet comes in front, now I fall as a victim for it. That means that vasana is very strong. So that's called a vasana pressure. Vasana pressure also we understand from the wanderings of the mind. If the mind keeps wandering a lot, that means the vasana pressure is very high. Now, the technique given is through actions only we will be able to purify the vasana, because actions by themselves are not generating any punya or any papa or any vasana. The intention behind it and the doership is what is generating the vasana. So the solution that has been given is to first purify the vasanas.
Right.
How to purify the vasana? By purifying my action and my thought and my desire. So that karma yoga method is one. Along with that, other sadhanas also are added. So japa, yajna, tapa, dan, tirtha, yatra, all these sadhanas, upvas, all these sadhanas will help me to do what? Transform the quality of my vasanas, get me into a more sattvic mode, make me more and more integrated as a person, bring more self-control in my personality by controlling the senses, controlling the mind, surrendering in devotion. If I do those things, then existing vasanas will get exhausted, but selfishly it will not get exhausted because I'm in a mode of karma yoga. So if I'm a grahasthi, I will do my work towards my family, I may do a profession, I may have duties towards society, but in my mind I am saying all this I dedicate to Bhagavan. So my vasana is still getting exhausted. But because I'm having the bhav of dedication, I'm not generating new vasanas of selfish kind, and I'm strengthening the selfless vasanas of satsang, seva, sadhana, sanyam, all that. So that way the vasana purification is happening. Then it is said to do the upasana, because in karma yoga we are engaging the senses, but in upasana we will withdraw the senses. That is more powerful. So then do japa, remember the Lord, do visualization of His form, build a relationship with the Lord, channelize the emotions towards the Lord. So through that, the devotion, the quantity of vasana also will be reduced. Because the more and more I find joy in my sadhana, in my connection with the Lord, my taste for the worldly temporary pleasures will reduce. So Karma Yoga and Upasana will help me to purify my vasanas, reduce my vasana pressure. And this may have to be done for quite a long time. Then comes the ability to do Shravan, go to the Guru, do Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasana. That's how one transcends the vasanas and ignorance cycle. If I have not done the first two, I will find this very difficult to do contemplation. Then I will find that this is theoretical only, and this I am not able to feel any transformation because I am Brahman, but only in contemplation I am Brahman. At other times I am a Jiva only. And I keep having attachments, aversions, sense temptations, and mind is distracted. And so then one finds, no, this is not helping me out. Because the earlier steps are not done. Because Karma Yoga is not followed properly, Upasana is not done properly, then one is just wanting. And today with a lot of these so-called intellectuals, they will say this only, I am not a bhakti type, I am not a ritual type, I only believe in spirituality, I don't believe in any other rituals. But then what will you do? Now I will only listen to Vedanta, I will study and I will do meditation. What will you do in meditation? Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. Excellent, go ahead and do it. After some time, the mind will not remain on Chidananda Rupa if it is not ready. If it is ready, there is no problem. But if it is not ready, it will go somewhere wandering. Then one finds that there is no progress happening. Then one says, I don't think Vedanta is a practical part or practical philosophy. It's too theoretical and I can't connect with it. I've been studying for so many years. Kuch nahi hua. All those things will start after that. That's because one is not prepared. If one takes a book of quantum physics and starts reading suddenly, what will one understand? So preparation is required, and our scriptures give all the practical methods of eliminating vasanas, exhausting the, transforming the quality of vasanas, reducing the pressure of vasanas. All those are the sadhanas. We have to follow this. Vedanta actually is the very word tells us, Veda Anta. It is the last part of Veda. Major part of the Veda is Karma Kanda. Then comes Upasana. Then comes Vedanta. Now, if I don't do Karma Yoga, if I don't do Upasana, very difficult it is.
Okay. Thank you, Swamiji. Hari Om.
Right. Hari Om. Priyanka ji.
Hari Om, Swamiji.
Hari Om.
Swamiji, I have two questions. So the first one is pertaining to today's class that we had on Tulsi Ramayan, in which you told about the mantra being being given by the teacher, the guru itself, and because it's like a live wire, and it will have more effect. But a few years back, around 7 years back or so, in one of the Bal Vihar magazines, one of the seekers had written about his experience with Gurudev as a child, and everything he wrote. And in the end, he wrote that every Hindu must do the Gayatri Jap daily. Otherwise, I mean, as a Hindu, you have to do Gayatri Jap daily. So ever since I read that, for the past 7 years, without Guru giving me Diksha, I just went on. I mean, till date, I'm still doing it, the Gayatri Mantra. So is there anything wrong or anything that is...
No, see, I said in my talk also clearly that if you do the mantra japa with initiation, the mantra gets activated and it becomes easy to manifest the potential of the mantra because it's already activated and given to us. If we don't get initiation, that for whatever reasons we are not able to find a teacher or we have not got initiated formally, then we do japa by ourselves. It will take little more effort to, not little more, it will take more effort to activate the mantra and manifest its potentials and the powers. There's nothing wrong about it. Point one. Point two, like I said earlier, so Gayatri Mantra is a Vedic mantra. And the importance of chanting that Gayatri Mantra, what is the meaning of that Gayatri Mantra, how to chant it properly, if we learn formally, and also if the ritual is done, which was done earlier in the Vedic times, the women also used to get the Janev. Somewhere it got stopped. One has to restart. In our Chinmay mission, we do many, when Vedanta course happens, Brahmacharis, Brahmacharinis, they both study. Janev is given to both, Brahmacharis, Brahmacharinis, both. Because that was our tradition. So there, with that ritual, when the devatas are invoked and the havan is done, and then that priest, whoever is conducting that havan, will initiate the student into the mantra, or in the traditional days, the guru was there who used to initiate the disciple. In some places, the father will initiate the son, because many times earlier it used to be the father is himself the guru when he is running a gurukul. So the father himself will initiate the child. So that ritual formally also will have its own impact. But again, I'm saying it does not mean if that is not done, I cannot do japa at all. I can do, but wherever possible, if it is possible to find a person to get initiated from or do a proper ritual, then start. It has its own impact, it has its own benefit, and like everything has a proper system, if you do it in a systematic way, its impact is very different. Same way, if we can do the initiation, great, it should be done. For whatever reason, if it is not possible, doesn't matter, continue to do the japa. And if now that knowledge is there, and if even now somebody can initiate, one can get into that through the proper initiation. It will have its own different impact. Like we say in Hindi, in Gujarati actually we say, Jagyat Arthi Savar. From the time we wake up, it is the morning. Meaning, from the time knowledge dawns upon us, till we didn't know something, we were continuing in some way. But now that we know, we can make changes and start living by that knowledge. So if there is somebody who can initiate you into a Gayatri Mantra, then get the initiation done and then continue the japa. So then that is what the scripture would say, and especially for the Vedic mantras. And Gayatri is definitely what every Hindu must do, because that is what it's a universal prayer. It's not a mantra only for one's own benefit. And it is considering Lord Surya as Ishvara, is a visible symbol. And it will appeal to even those who don't believe in particular forms of the Lord. Because Surya they can see, is manifest. Without Surya there is no life. It's very big today. In the West, etc., a lot of places, sun worship is very big. They don't believe in God, they don't believe in forms of God, but they believe in the sun. So they do sun worship. And sun worship was there in many cultures. Egyptian culture also it was there. Mayan culture also it was there. Bharat, of course, it is there. So if one gets initiated, that's the best.
So, Swamiji, whom can we, approach? There are priests in the temple also. Should we approach them to
You
initiate?
can always ask, approach many people, figure out. Because some people will be very orthodox. They will tell you 20 things. They'll say, no, we can't initiate women. Women should not chant Gayatri, this, that, they will tell. Then there are other people, Arya Samajists also are there, who will tell you, who will explain the ritual ka significance, everything. So when people do marriages by Arya Samaj Vidhi, Arya Samaj, many places, they will explain why this Vidhi is done, what is the importance, what is the mantra being chanted, what are the ahutis being offered. So there are people who will explain also. So find out from people and take some, like you do, you meaning whoever, like people do with doctors, they take multiple opinions. And then finally they come to decide they don't get stuck with only one doctor. And if the doctor says, no, this surgery has to be done, they'll say, okay, I will take a second opinion, a third opinion, and then finally I will come to a decision. Like that, you take some few people's opinions and then take a call. You will find some people will be there who will be able to explain significance, everything, and who will initiate also. You will find some people very traditional and they won't initiate. Then you will find some people who are in between also. So little research has to be done for that.
Okay. And Swamiji, my second question is on Sutak. So like recently, my father's side family is very huge. My parents relocated from that village to this place almost 12 years back. So they still follow that if there is a death in that family which is in the village, they will have to observe the Sutak here. Now, my parents don't necessarily, because the family is so huge, if somebody dies, they don't necessarily know that person. But I saw my mother feeling very bad because she didn't know the person and she was asked to stop doing puja for a few days. And she almost treats gods like, her own children, and she has to give them a bath and everything. So, what is this relevance of Sutak? I always thought it's a kind of mourning for a person you're close to. But here there was no closeness. They didn't even know the person.
So what we have to understand here is this, very simple. When we worship Bhagwan, Bhagwan is the purer than the purest. He is the Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swarup. Our scriptures say to worship the one who is the purest, we should be in a state of purity of mind, as well as purity of whatever behavior, speech, body. Maximum purity is required. Then we will also benefit more from that sadhana, and we will ultimately experience oneness with the divine, which is because we have impurities. That's why we don't experience the oneness. We feel I am separate, God is separate. What is creating the distance? Impurity. What is that impurity? My own ego, my own selfishness, my own raga, dvesha, all these. And where do all these reside? They reside in my mind, which is a subtle body. Sadhana is to purify this mind, because ultimately the self in all of us is the same. Today I can't experience that because of the impurities, and so I am worshipping the Lord through the form outside to help me to purify the mind by letting go of my ego, by surrendering the Lord. Now this Siddhant we have to understand very clearly. Now what is creating that impurity is not only at the physical level. Impurity gets created also at thought level, at subtler levels. Now, when a jiva, so we should understand one point in Vedanta, which is very clear, that all of us are connected. What each one does will affect everyone. There is no doubt about that. Physically, we can understand that very easily. Especially with today's understanding of science, etc., we understand very clearly that one part of the globe, something happens, some other part of the globe is getting affected by it, because it is interconnected, it is one. We cannot isolate it. We have been living in isolation. That's how ego operates, and that is how we create more and more turmoil in the world and for ourselves. So if a war is happening somewhere, it will have different impact on other parts of the world also. So physically we all are connected. Now some places, some trees are cut, some other places the ice is melting, and the whole world will go through the difficulties of climate change. Why? Because it is one connected whole. We cannot separate it. Separation is only from some functional standpoint to ensure that properly we are able to manage things. Otherwise, it is one whole. Now we have to apply that at the subtle level. So in Vedanta, we say all the gross bodies put together is called Virat, and all the subtle bodies put together is called Hiranyagarbha. That is the total mind. When a jiva enters into a particular kula or exits a particular kula, that period is called Sutak. At that time and a certain number of days after that is called Sutak. So even when a child is born, Sutak is observed. It is not observed only when somebody dies. Why is it when a child born some Sutak observed? Because which jiva has come into this kula, nobody knows. Ishvara alone knows. Nobody knows. And a jiva coming into the kula is coming into the kula because of the karma, karmic connection of the jiva with the people of the kula, of the members of that family. So there is an influence of that jiva's karma, of that subtle body of the jiva on the subtle bodies of the family members. Depending on what is the intensity of karma, the connection obviously will not be same with every family member. But it will affect the family member in subtler ways, which you and I today may not be able to perceive so clearly. There are yogic methods, there are psychic methods to even perceive some of that. Like we can't perceive bacteria and many things, viruses, just by our physical eye. But then there are equipments, then you can see very clearly, oh, this is a virus here, and these are the number of viruses, or these are the bacteria, and which is the nature of that, what type of bacteria and virus it is, all that we can find out. Because the equipments are required for it. Same way, the subtle body of that jiva, whoever that jiva is, will influence the subtle body of the family members. So, as a precaution, it is said that for a certain number of days, all the members of that kula are in a state of certain level of impurity. Now, when there is a certain impurity, then it is said that so for some days don't go to the temple or don't worship the Lord. Continue your duties, what you are doing, make that as your dedication to Bhagavan, but specifically don't go to the temple, don't worship the Lord through that specific pujas, etc. Because the condition of that puja is that one should be purest. As much as one can maintain the purity, one maintains and one does it. This is the concept of Sutak. Now, how much people follow and want to follow, that is up to them anyways. But why Sutak is there? Because the jiva who has gone is in a state. Now I'm coming to jiva who has gone. The jiva who has gone is in an astral state. May not have got a body yet. And the time difference of theirs and ours, the time of theirs and ours is different. For us, it is, let us say, 21 days here or 40 days here. It is very few moments for that jiva there, because our 1 year is equal to 1 day for them. Well, 1 year is 1 day for them. So if 30 days, 40 days is hardly few minutes for them. So when the jiva is in that in-between state, that is called the preta avastha. So in that preta avastha, the subtle body of that jiva is still connected to the gross subtle body of all the people. And the rites, rituals, antyeshti karma, all that when it is done, that connection is broken and that jiva goes. So it is said for certain number of days, don't do, because the influence of that preta will be there on the family. It has nothing to do with geographical distances. It has nothing to do with dead body is impure, so we don't go to temples because we want to maintain hygiene. Those are things people have trying to invent some acceptable so-called scientific reasons to say that, okay, that is the reason why people used to observe Sutak. Nowadays, we don't need to observe Sutak because today we have enough ways to, maintain our hygiene, wash the hands, take a bath, all kinds of cosmetics we have. So purify the body. Now then you can do anything that you want. Because the concept of Sutak is not understood. That there is an influence of the departing jiva on the existing jivas. Even if the bond is not close. If bond is close, it will affect more. If the bond is not close, it will not affect so much. But the scripture says that the effect of the subtle body is there. And it is there in that whole family. So better it is if the family members don't follow certain rituals for some time. One can always challenge it, saying that when the mind is impure, that is the time when we want to worship the Lord maximum, so that we purify the mind. That one can put a logic to that. But that you can apply for your individual sadhana at home. If you want to follow, you follow. You don't want to follow, you don't follow. That is up to you. Shastra says don't do it. So that the whatever the negative influences which may be there, with that kind of a mind, we don't need to perform the pujas, etc. They may not give the right effect to us. At the same time, we don't want to transcend the scriptural injunction. So people traditionally, they followed Sutak for a certain number of days. They don't apply. They don't worship the Lord. They don't go to temple. They don't light a lamp. They follow that. In case of a community temple, one should follow that strictly. Because in a community temple, one has to protect the energies very, 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 very carefully. In the sanctum, in the temple, there's a powerful energy field there. Now, if my mind has a certain impurity and I'm being influenced by certain subtler forces which I am not even aware of, I go there, I am affecting those energies. If my mind is influenced in certain ways, but my mind is weak and I'm not able to control, I may even land up doing something wrong there. And I may not even understand why I did something wrong. So many of those factors are there. So it is said, definitely don't go to a temple because it's a place where whole community comes there. And generally people come there to charge themselves because the chanting happens, pujas happen, the vibrations are strong in that place. If some Mahatma has done the Pran Pratishtha there, then Bhagwan is really there. Now imagine that bhavana, no? Whether you do it at home or you do it at community temple also, the bhavana of a jiva is what? Of a bhakta is what? That Bhagwan is there. And so when one goes to the temple, one even cleans the feet before one goes inside. That even that dirt should not be there of the feet. As much purity as one can maintain, one maintains and goes inside. Why? Because I'm going in front of Bhagwan. I'm not going in front of a murti, please. Our problem is that only we have grossified everything. I am not going in front of a murti. I am going in front of Bhagwan. So I want to be as pure as I can. With that feeling, when one is going, Shastra says there is a certain influence in your mind which is creating a certain impurity. So overcome those. You do your mental remembrance of Bhagwan or japa, whatever you want, or do the actions of daily life, what your duties are, you dedicate those to Bhagwan, and when Sutak period is over, then continue the ritualistic sadhana that you were doing earlier. Because ritualistic sadhana will require certain purity, and when it is done that way only, it will create the impact. Like it is like a proper science. You mix hydrogen 2 molecules, oxygen 1 molecule, you will get water. You cannot do any other combination. It has to be exact. So those who are doing rituals with this bhavana, that they want punya or they want a certain particular result and they are praying to Bhagwan, then that sakama karma, etc., will not produce a result unless some of the conditions are fulfilled properly. Now, if somebody says, no, nishkama karma, I will do selflessly towards the Lord, then go ahead and do selflessly, no problem. Continue. If one having understood this whole thing, if one says, no, I am doing it selflessly for Bhagwan alone, I don't want anything out of it, then do it. The scriptural injunction will apply specifically to the jivas, to us, when we are in a realm of duality, in the realm where we are working as an ego. If we are very clear that my bhav is absolutely purest, my mind is very, very selfless, then you are an exception and you only are a deciding authority to do certain things. But remember, you are not an individual. There is a family, there is a society. Now, your actions can be replicated by others without understanding your intention, your attitude, your purity of mind. So, to ensure that this type of a subjective variation is not there, it is commonly applied to everybody, saying this is Sutak period now, everybody will follow this, that for certain number of days, certain things will not be done. So this is what I understand, this is the reasoning behind the Sutak.
Okay, thank you so much, Swamiji.
Alpesh-ji.
Hari Om Swamiji. Swamiji, my question is around japa that we discussed this morning. So 3 questions, essentially in the same line of thread. You said there's a Vedic mantra and a Quranic mantra. What is the difference between these two? Second question, Swamiji, is Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. Is it a Vedic mantra or a Quranic mantra? And is there a particular intonation to it, the way we recite it? And lastly, just a follow-up from what you were explaining earlier, when you said initiation, does that essentially mean that, we are given to understand the meaning and significance of a mantra and then the way we have to recite it?
So, Vedic mantra has intonations. They will have matras and the intonations, and one has to chant with those proper intonations. So, there is Swarita, normal, then Udatta, that particular one vertical line will be there, so that vowel has to be pronounced up. Then there will be Anudatta, there will be a horizontal line below, so that has to be pronounced one pitch below. And there will be 2 lines above, that is called Pluta, so that vowel has to be elongated. So if we say Om Sahana Vavatu, so Sa is down, Anudatta, Ha is regular, normal, Na is up, Sahana Vavatu, Vavatu is Swarita. So that is called intonation. So Vedic mantras are revelations of the divine. Vedic mantras are not created by human beings. Vedic mantras have intonations. Vedic mantras will have to be chanted in those intonations. They will have a chandas sometimes, many times, most of the times. There will be a particular rishi to whom the Vedic mantra is revealed. So before japa, all this I have to remember. Quranic mantras are written by saints, sages, great devotees. They do not have intonations. They also have a devata, but specifically it will be more of the forms of Bhagwan. They will not be specifically for the devatas like Indra, Varuna, Vayu. For them only Vedic mantras will be there. For Krishna there will be Puranic mantra, for Ram there will be Puranic mantras. Like that there will be Puranic mantras for others also. So that's the difference between Vedic mantra and Puranic mantras. Puranic mantras can be chanted in a tune that is comfortable to the individual, or if they can be need not necessarily be sung. They can even be pronounced in a way comfortable to the individual. So, like Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. If one says, well, one can chant it saying Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, some tune. Or one can just chant it as a for japa without any tune. Just say the words. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Just say it. That is the first question. Second question, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna is a Vedic mantra. It is there in the Kali Santarana Upanishad. Intonation, you will have to go and check. I am not familiar with the intonation. In that, actually, it is Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare.
That is, it begins with Ram and then comes Krishna. And it has intonations. It is there in Kali Santarana Upanishad. So if one wants to chant it as a Vedic mantra, for the japa, one should try and do it with intonation. People have twisted that mantra also. Make Hare Krishna first, then put Hare Ram later, and then sing it with various musical instruments, etc. That is a liberty that one has taken, which we do with other mantras also. We have taken some liberties. But in japa, as much as possible, one should try and chant, if one can, with the Vedic intonations to get the vibratory effect fully. Third question, initiation is not only knowing the meaning. As I said, initiation is a particular, so sometimes initiation happens through the ritual, and then because that ritual will purify the person. Samskar it is called. So when we do the Janevu Samskar, then that Samskar itself will purify, because Devatas will be invoked, certain actions are done, and then certain oaths are taken, certain vows are taken before one is initiated properly into the mantra. So the mantra will be then taught to that person and the meaning will be explained. And then that person has to do it regularly. So that is one form of formal initiation that happens. Sometimes there are great masters, Mahatmas, who don't have to do the ritual and formally initiate that person. The person may touch the disciple and initiate through the mantra. The person may initiate through the eyes also. That is called Sparsha Diksha, Chakshu Diksha, even Vichara Diksha. So examples are given for it. Like great masters, they can do it in all the ways. So Sparsha Diksha is like the hen. Hen will sit on its eggs and warm these eggs. So some masters will touch and the disciple is initiated into a particular mantra, and the disciple may be told that mantra also later on or before, and then that disciple will start. Sometimes it is done through the eyes. So the example for the eyes, it is said the fish lays its eggs and keeps on seeing it. That is the Meena Diksha. That is earlier one is Kukkuta Diksha, then the second is Meena Diksha. The fish will keep seeing. So sometimes the masters transfer certain energy through the eyes. Ramakrishna is said to have done all the three to Vivekananda. Through the eyes, in the last moments of his life, he transferred some of the powers to Vivekananda. Through Sparsha also he did, and Vivekananda went into Samadhi. And the third is called Vichara Diksha. So the tortoise or turtles, they lay the eggs on the beach, and then they go into the water, and through the thought they will warm the eggs. That is a Vichara Diksha. So depending on the master, depending on the disciple, different types of dikshas are given, where the heart will get initiated with that power of that mantra. So it's not just an intellectual information. That also will be there, so that I need to know the meaning of it. But the power of that person will transform the heart of the student in some ways. That is what we say that's called initiation.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Swamiji. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Neetaji.
Hari Om, Swamiji.
Hari Om.
As like you have already said about the initiation part of it, but I had a question that you are born in a family, like, everyone is chanting Shri Krishna Sharana Mama from the childhood only. And we don't know even that who taught, like maybe mother, maybe father, like by the age of 5 and 6, I really don't remember when I have started, but I was doing my japa and mala since my childhood. And then I increased also, and as and when I get, a satsang of a guru or somewhere, but not initiation had happened. But like last, that I had gone for the mantra sadhana, where Viblananji had given the mantra, and then I'm doing it, and I see the difference happening, But here that sometimes the guru is not there, but the families, as a family tradition, if somebody does as a mantra, so how does it works like?
See, as I said before, one can do the japa even without initiation, but one has to put that much more effort.
Yeah,
And
that
it is
I
also
have felt
possible.
that, I have experienced also that, yeah.
So as and when the is the power of that mantra and Bhagwan's grace, it will lead you to the right master also, when you will get initiated also.
Right, that's what I was feeling.
So the family will also get at some point in time, whenever their karma is and Bhagwan's grace, it is some master or some great saint will be there in one's life and they will get initiated. We can also say that till then that mantra has helped them, purified them, so that they got the right initiation also, and then their journey further continues. So one should not start japa because of that.
No, I'm saying that by birth, like by birth, with this situation around, like the parents and the grandparents and everybody is doing, so the child also starts doing it.
Correct.
It's like that. It's not been given as such, or maybe by observing the child is doing it.
Correct. So that is because of our ignorance today. If you see in the past how our culture and society was, every family had a Kula Guru.
Right.
And they used to get initiated from the Kul Guru. And if the Kul Guru is not strong enough or capable enough, that Kul Guru will direct this family to some other higher master and then make that family take that. Now all that concepts are all going. So today we say that, okay, now chalo, the child has picked up. So again, I'm saying it is nothing wrong, child has picked up, but if the family is aware, then the family will ensure that the child also gets formally initiated at a certain age. Right. So it is like this, like if I give today's example, the Janev Samskar is a formal initiation. Now the child may be learning Gayatri Mantra. Nowadays the child learns at very young age. So they will tell, whenever a Swamiji or somebody goes to their house, they will tell the child, chalo, chant the Gayatri Mantra. Or they'll make the child nowadays to videos also. So take the video and the child is chanting Gayatri Mantra in its own way. It is doing some, some cloth of its own, and it is looking at that and doing something and chanting, and in some language it is saying anything. So if the child is exposed to the mantra, has listened to it, is chanting it also and doing it in some way. But when the right time comes for initiation, around 6 years, between 6 years to 9 years is the best time to initiate. Then formally the child should get initiated into it. That will make a big difference. So nothing wrong if the child picks up, but the family should be aware and the family should do certain things whereby the child gets initiated. And if the child has to know, has the freedom and should have the freedom to choose their own Ishta Devata, then
so
Gayatri Mantra you initiate the child into, but let the child become aware that you are free to chant which mantra you want based on the form of the Lord that you like. Just because the family is worshipping Krishna, I don't have to worship Krishna alone. That
Okay.
freedom is of the jiva. That individual has that freedom to choose whichever form one likes.
Okay.
And then tell that person that when you have chosen a form and a mantra, then if there is a great master or if somebody is there who is able to initiate you into it, then go and take the initiation and then formally start the japa of that mantra. So that knowledge must be given to the child as the child grows up, so that the child also is aware, and evolution of the child happens systematically.
So like every jiva comes with their own form, they want to do it. Like as a family, like if you are worshipping the Krishna and everyone is worshipping, but the one person can worship the Shiva
Of
also the Ganesh. So
100%.
according to their own jiva bhavna, they will choose their own mantra and own form.
That is what has to happen.
Mhm.
The moksha is not given in wholesale to families.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
Moksha is discovered by people individually only. For that, I have to surrender to Bhagwan, whichever form I love.
Right.
It is not that everybody is worshipping same form, so I will also worship same form. That if in the absence of any other knowledge, I am worshipping, that samskar is there, that's all right.
Yeah. But slowly, like how Mirabai's thing that she was being given the form of Krishna, and then she believed the parents or whoever has given the form, and then like how you give the impression to the mind, and then you start liking it. At one point, you start
See,
liking
that's
it.
what I'm saying. Finally, it will be the karma of that person. Na?
Huh.
It will be also that karma of that person. Everybody who is given the form of Krishna by parents don't start loving it.
Yeah, maybe.
It's also the form, it's also karma of Mirabai that she already has the Purva Janma Samskar of Krishna Bhakti. Then she has come into this life as Mirabai and somebody gave her that form. She anyway expressed the natural affinity towards it and took it up. If her parents had given the form of, let us say, Shiva, she may not have chosen that form of Shiva as her Ishtadevata. She would have gravitated towards Lord Krishna because that is her karma.
Okay.
And that bhakti also will come with us life after life.
Yeah.
So all those possibilities are there.
Okay. And then one question was there, like how you said that everybody impacts each other's vibrations, right? So like in a family or maybe in an organization or where, two people are there, like suppose one is following discipline and all the given by the guru or shastra, maybe more interested in learning things and things. And the other person doesn't get interested in anything than the bhoga and like in just the doing the basic duties which is required. So how it affects each other's vibrations then?
Of course, it will affect each other. Now it depends on who
Is more
allows what
powerful.
vibrations to influence them and who blocks it. We block it also.
Okay.
Of course. So if the mindset is blocked, then even if positive vibrations are there, one will not accept. One will say, one will resist it. One will say, no, I don't want to attend this satsang. I don't want to do this japa. I don't want to celebrate this festival. One will go away from it. Because the time is not yet ripe, karma is not yet there. So if one person is influencing the other person is resisting. Same way the other person is saying, you come to enjoy this party or let us go to this place, that place. Now the spiritual person also may resist, saying, no, I'm not coming, I'm not interested. So influence is there of both. Sometimes there is a block, then one blocks out the other person. Sometimes one says, okay, I will do, then they will do. So it will keep happening. The influence will keep happening. What we have to understand is one aspect. Subtler always has more impact than the grosser. That we have to be very clear. It's a proper scientific principle. Subtler is more powerful than gross, always. So spiritual vibrations will definitely be more powerful and it will influence the person, even if the person blocks. But the seed is going, the impression is going on that person's mind. Some point it will germinate. The bhoga vasanas are also powerful, but they won't be more powerful than the spiritual mindsets and spiritual vasanas. But a spiritual seeker must be alert about Bhogavasana, because till one doesn't realize the self, it is always very risky. One can fall. So one, depending on one stage of life, one duties, one has to do what best one can to balance and do one's duties to remain steadfast in the spiritual path and enjoy without any compromise, enjoy and do what has to be done.
Okay. Thank you, Swamiji. Pranam.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Srijata ji. Okay, these last three questions now. No more after this.
Okay. Hari Om, Swamiji. Sorry, I have two questions to ask you. First is that we have the Sthula Sharir, Sattva and Karan Sharir, and we have this Sukshma Sharir. These three Sharir, they are called Upadhis. Now, why do you call them Upadhis? That is one. That what exactly does an Upadhi mean? And secondly, that Upadhi is considered to be a conditioning or a delimiter. It is translated as it is given. So what does it mean exactly, this delimiter or conditioning? The terms.
So Upadhi literally means an equipment.
Okay.
Upadhi doesn't mean trouble. In Hindi and some other languages, Upadhi means trouble. But here in Vedanta, Upadhi literally means a conditioning, a limitation, because the infinite appears to be conditioned by these three: gross body, subtle body, causal body. Infinite is not conditioned actually by anything.
No.
So this equipment, when we forget that I am not this equipment, I am the infinite, but I consider myself as the equipment, then I have limited myself. Now, from infinite, I have suddenly become finite. From imperishable, I become perishable. From unborn, I become born. So that's why it is called delimiting adjunct or a conditioning, because it's not real. It is an assumption and it is an identification that we have taken up. And that is what is limiting me from my true infinite nature. So it is called as a delimiting adjunct or what is that? Conditioning.
Okay. Thank you, Swamiji. Then the second question is that now we read in books that the idol represents the ideal, but when is it that the idol starts communicating with the devotee?
Idol will never communicate with the devotee. Bhagavan only will communicate with the devotee. The connection between the Lord and the devotee is established through the idol. And whenever the bhav comes in the mind of the devotee of surrender and the person's mind is open, one will experience the communication. Bhagavan speaks to us every moment in our own heart as the voice of conscience also, even as in the buddhi, that which makes me decide what to do, what not to do, what is right, what is wrong, what we call as our conscience, is Bhagavan only, no? Who is telling us from inside, who is guiding us, who is the Antaratma guiding us, what is right, what is wrong. Many times we are clouded in our day-to-day life interactions, so we are not able to follow that very clearly, or even sometimes we don't listen to that because we have trained our mind to ignore it. Then we don't listen to it also. So in the time when one does puja or japa or any such sadhana, when one quietens the mind and puts aside that ego for some time, then one starts feeling that, okay, now God is talking to me. But God is talking to me every minute. I just have to recognize that very clearly, that this is Bhagavan in my heart who is telling me to do something, not to do something, who is making me. He is the enlivening force. The body can experience something only because of presence of Bhagavan. Mind can feel because of Bhagavan. Intellect can think because of Bhagavan. So every minute that Supreme is communicating all the time. We have to recognize it soon.
Thank you, Swamiji. Hari Om. Pranam.
Guru Prasad ji.
Hari Om Swamiji. quickly, one question. In the Kindle Life book, there's a chapter on Gayatri Mantra. And since you had covered Gayatri Mantra earlier today, I just wanted to check on that one. It talks about different things to be done by, let's say, the Brahmins and the Kshatriyas and the Vaishyas. Shudras specifically are excluded over there. And that's true in many other places also. Just wanted to check, Swamiji, what's the logic behind it and how does that work?
See, we have to understand eligibility plays a big role for any science, for any sport, for any new learning. Eligibility, if it is not there, one will not understand, one will misunderstand, and one can misuse. Now, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya are not by birth, they are by temperament. That is very clear in the Veda also, that is clear in the Gita also. Chaturvarnya Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. It is based on Guna and Karma. It is not based on Janma. Janma happens based on Gunas only. But people don't focus on the Gunas, they focus only on the Janma. So there can be somebody who is born in the so-called Shudra community, but very highly sattvic person. So many saints are born like that. Gora Kumbhar is a potter. Vedavyasji himself is son of a fisherman. Like that, there are people who are born in the Shudra community also, but they have risen to great heights, and that merit is that quality is what we recognize. And they have written Vedas, we listen to them, we follow them, the foundation of our Sanatana Dharma is that. So, compiled Vedas, not written. So the point to understand is this division of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra is by temperament, point one. Point two, as a Shudra, what is a temperament? Shudra temperament is maximum body identification, maximum. Minimum intellectual identification. So the Shudra's work also is maximum at body level. Physical labor, hard work, all that is the Shudra temperament. Now you make that Shudra sit quietly in one place and chant the Gayatri Mantra and remember the Supreme Lord, invoke the form, do the meditation, do the chanting. Is not possible. Person will get frustrated and run away. So when somebody is not eligible, why force that person and make them do something? Brahmana, Kshatriya and Vaishya, they also have body identifications, but much lesser. Brahmana has minimum body identification. So Brahmana is considered much more subtler in these abilities of comprehending the subtlest aspect of our personality, which is the self or Ishvara or the creation. So Brahmana comes in order of subtlety because maximum Sattva Guna is there in the Brahmana. Then Kshatriya, then Vaishya. Shudra has maximum Tamo Guna. One cannot give that knowledge to the Shudra because it will not be understood first of all, and it can be definitely misunderstood. So many people today you see, when Vedanta is not understood properly, Adhikara is not there, one has not cultivated the required mental qualities, how much one can misuse Vedanta and destroy themselves. So forget destroying culture and society and other people. It will be destructive to that person. For example, if one says that this world is an illusion, God alone is real, none of this exists, and you are one with that God. Now you see what happened to the Asuras. How many Asuras got this knowledge of Vedanta? And they were not Adhikaris, they got the knowledge of Vedanta, destroyed themselves, destroyed others. Why? Because they said, now, if world is an illusion, then how does it matter? Why should I follow morality or immorality? Why should I distinguish? I can eat, drink, be merry, do anything that I like. Anyway, it is all an illusion. Now it is destructive, self-destructive it becomes. Same way, Gayatri Mantra is not an ordinary mantra. It is the essence of the Vedic knowledge. The subtlest mantra is Omkar, and the essence of that Omkar is in the Gayatri Mantra. The second most powerful mantra in the Veda is the Gayatri Mantra. And Shankaracharya's commentary is there on this Gayatri Mantra, and there he says very clearly that Gayatri is a mantra to establish the oneness of Jiva and Brahma. Jiva Brahma Aikya is what Gayatri Mantra is supposed to reveal. How is a Shudra going to understand Jiva Brahma Aikya when the mind is so gross and body oriented? So Shastra addresses the mind, it does not address the body. And when this is misunderstood, and when this system has been it has gone through a decline, then this Varna Vyavastha has become by the body. Then all kinds of exploitation has happened. But we see only those exploitations many times. We don't see the opposition to that exploitation. How many great Mahatmas have fought against the decline of caste system, and how many great saints have been recognized by our culture and glorified in our country, and we follow them irrespective of which community they belong to, because they have that high level of sattva guna, irrespective of gender that they belong to. So keeping that in mind, it is a proper division that why a Shudra does not is not given a Gayatri Mantra, or the study of the Veda is not meant for them, not because they are inferior to anybody, because that is not their temperament. One cannot force spiritual evolution. That is what we believe in our in the Vedas. That is what is the method that we follow. That a person systematically evolves from one level to the other. You cannot force open that evolution. So it cannot be that whether you like it or not, now you have to chant and you have to do this and you have to do that. It will not work. That person must be ready for that, eligible for that. And scripture gives methods to make that person eligible also. So it is not that a jiva will eternally remain as a Shudra of dedicating that action to Bhagavan. And as that person learns that bhavana of dedication and keeps doing that hard work, exhausts the physical energies and the karmic, whatever the karmas are, one exhausts those, and bhakti becomes more stronger, slowly that person's sattva guna will increase, body identification will reduce, sense control will increase, all these things will happen. Then naturally that person becomes eligible. So it's only a question of that, what is the temperament? And so how this temperament is understood by the various combinations of sattva, rajas and tamas, and how then one evolves.
Understood, Swami. Thank you, Swamiji. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Okay, last question. Krishna Unni.
Hari Om, Swamiji.
Hari Om.
This question is from my side as well as a friend of mine who is going through a trouble. How to overcome the overt intelligence and carnal pleasures, because we are both of them are very much aware of the consequences and how it is affecting us. So both of us have an aspiring goal where we are not able to focus, as well as our mental energies are completely dissipated. How can we overcome this? Can you suggest some sadhanas which we can practice?
See, first and foremost, at a physical level, one must do certain exercises, play a sport, do some rigorous work by which body's energies are exhausted. If body's energies are not exhausted, it will create suppression. It will land up the mind in some different tendencies. First, learn to do that. Is there enough physical exertion and hard work or sport or sweating it out, exercise, yoga, whatever it is? Physically, I must learn, especially the younger the person is, more energy one has to learn to physically channelize the energies properly. Point one. Point two, learn to control the breathing. When there is lust in the mind, the breathing becomes very shallow. Learn to focus more on the deep breathing. and also learn certain methods of pranayam, because if we learn that pranayam, the energies that go downwards, they will start moving upwards. That is called urdhva retas. So when the energies start moving upwards, naturally the tendencies towards the lower carnal pleasures will reduce. Point 3, definitely at sense level, learn to have control. Enough and more information is available out there which is vulgar, which will incite more and more lust in the mind. And today, that control, people don't think it is necessary. So anytime, at any age, anything they are seeing, any information is available, and those things will create an impact. So if senses are not controlled, I'm giving general solutions. I'm not saying about anything about you or the friends specifically. I'm giving general solutions. So senses need to get controlled. What I see, what I read about, what I browse, what I see in the phone, kind of books I read, magazines I read, serials I watch, whatever it is. There has to be certain control, and there has to be a strictness in that I will not engage in certain types of content, because my focus right now here is to overcome my certain addiction that is there, or a certain attachment that is there towards the lower pleasures. 5, what one has to also understand is the importance of brahmacharya has to be understood very, very clearly, that what brahmacharya does to the person, how it is an important aspect to preserve the vitality at the body level. And our scriptures give us these spiritual sadhanas like upvas, japa, tapa, yatra. So many of these dynamic sadhanas are there, which will transform the physical vitality, which is called ojas, into the spiritual glow or the brilliance, that is called tejas. And that will help a lot in my goals also. Like you said, you have a goal, you are aspiring for that. So it will, the physical energy which is conserved, pranic energy which is conserved, will help to achieve my goal in the material world, as well as help me to evolve spiritually. This the world has not understood today, and it is they have gone on a different tangent. They feel it is more trendy, it is more people are more let us say liberal, and then they speak about at which age you lost your virginity and this and that, and if at a certain age you have not had a certain type of pleasure, what have you done in your life? All that kind of immature mindsets those are, considering the spiritual growth. If somebody wants to do it, that's their choice. I mean, nothing more to say beyond that. But if somebody is aspiring for the higher, then one has to understand very clearly, because the social conditioning is very strong at a certain age to engage in many of these things. And while it may be natural, I'm not saying there's anything unnatural about it, or if one engages in it, it is bad or anything like that. It is your choice now what you do with that energy and what do you want to apply it for. So if I understand the value of brahmacharya clearly, it is not about suppression. It is about channelizing my energies to do something higher. And it's a voluntary decision, because I want to make better use of my equipment. So I choose to follow. So intellect must be very clear about the glory of brahmacharya and what brahmacharya can do, how it will help in memory. Memory and brahmacharya are deeply connected. People don't know that yet. Our Shastra says very clearly. Our Gurudev, when his diary was lost, in olden days there used to be an address book. Then came digital diaries, and then the cell phones. But we used to carry address books. So addresses will be written, pin code, phone number, all that will be written, and that address book is carried with us everywhere. Gurudev's address book, that secretary lost. He was shivering, because Gurudev knows so many thousands of people and everybody writes letters to him and he has to reply to them. Address book gone means so many things can't be done. So he came to Gurudev and he was very scared. Gurudev said, doesn't matter, sit down. And he said, right. He closed his eyes and he dictated, talk, one by one, names, addresses with pin code, phone number. 2,000 people. So one youngster, he asked Gurudev, Swamiji, what is the secret of your memory? I mean, this kind of memory. He was standing there. He couldn't believe 2,000 people's names, addresses, phone numbers Gurudev dictated on the spot. He said one word only. He said Brahmacharya. And even scriptures give many reasons for that. So Brahmacharya, so memory, if I want to increase my memory, I want to improve my focus, if I want to understand subtler states of consciousness, experience all that, then I need to follow this. So if I'm very clear of the need of the power of Brahmacharya, and I'm very clear about how these energies get drained if I exhaust my mind in all these things, then I will be able to have that strength that even if a temptation arises, I don't become a victim. If one wants to engage at some point in time, indulge for whatever reasons, that is one's own choice, but one will not at least get carried away. And lastly, anchor in devotion to the Lord, surrender to Bhagwan, derive that emotional strength from the Lord, and know that Bhagwan is always there with us. The strength that we need to overcome this, we have to derive from the Lord. One of the most difficult vratas to follow is the vrata of Brahmacharya. But with Bhagwan's grace, it will happen. So seek out the grace of the Lord and pray every day. Connect to the Lord. Emotionally, when we get anchored, it helps a lot in this sadhana. So these are few things that one can do.
Swamiji, one quick question. Swamiji, this is a confession that I am afraid that I'm a single child, and I feel like I often feel that, suppose, what if something happens to my parents, I will be left alone. This may seem a bit childish, but still I'll be all left around. It haunts me like anything. Can you please help me with that?
See, it is a natural concern. There's nothing childish about that. It is a natural concern that is there in the mind. We should have clarity about two things. Mind may assume many of these things and bring us in a state of fear and anxiety, etc. But one aspect is, whatever we go through in life, there is some karmic consequence behind it. As long as that karma is there, I will not be separated from the parents, nor parents will be separated from me. I will be taken care of. And in case that separation even happens for whatever reasons, whatever my karma is there, it will determine what will be the next course of my life. And also I have that choice in that moment, how do I deal with it? So don't feel that you are helpless. Your own karma baggage is with you. And then also have the Shraddha, as I said, Bhagwan is with us. Bhagwan will ensure. Even right now, honestly, who takes care of us is Bhagwan, who protects us is Bhagwan. We may say that right now it is Bhagwan is protecting me through my parents. Tomorrow, in case something happens, Bhagwan will protect you through someone else. Don't worry. Leave the worrying to Bhagwan. You have Shraddha in the Lord and have that faith. Keep remembering Bhagwan. Rest will all be taken care of. Because there is no other solution to this. Because the mind will naturally get anxious. And it is just sometimes a fear of the mind. It may not even happen that one may get separated like that. So have faith and have this clarity that your karma will be there, your choice of Purushartha will be there, and Bhagwan's Kripa is always there. You will be taken care of.
Thank you, Swamiji. Hari Om.
Hari Om. All right. Thank you, everyone. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.